criminal justice, healing, education. Time to awaken the people.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are currently watching. My name is Holly Cisa. I am the founder of this lovely program called Morning Mimosas. And as you guys know, here we awaken the Black and minority communities by valuing justice, healing, and education. And we like to note that we love all people because I always get that one person that's like, oh, why do you do this only for your community? Well, I'm a Black woman. I have to do it for my people. But before we get this episode started, you guys know how we like to do. And if you're new here, this is how we like to do things here at Morning Mimosas. I like to give you guys deals, amazing deals. And this nice little number is from Ganell's Crafts, and they're one of the lovely commercials that you guys will see here shortly. And they will be returning here in about 10 days on October 15th with some amazing items that you guys can purchase. So let's take a look at some of Morning Mimosa's amazing parts.
Sanjanette Sayers here from Immuna Soaps and Essentials. Just wanted to send out a reminder for all of you Morning Mimosa community members. If you go to my website and use promo code MM23, you will get a percentage off of your entire order. And my website is www.emunahsoaps.com. God bless.
Hey y'all, it's Auntie Harley, CEO, founder, and owner, lots of hats, of Ganell's Crafts. Speaking of hats, our signature product, the flower crown, can be found right at our Instagram page, Ganell's Crafts. But that's not even why we're here. I'm here today, number one, to give a shameless plug for these do-rags, because y'all been eating these up, okay? And number two, I'm giving another shameless plug. If you mention the amazing podcast, Morning Mimosas, shout out to the beautiful host, Holly, at your checkout, you get $10 off your full order. And we make some of everything, baby, not just do-rags and hats. So definitely come see us over at Ganell's Crafts. If we haven't made it already, if you send us an idea, we could probably make it for you. We adore you. We love you. From our family to yours, get you something handmade.
Guys, that was just some of Morning Mimosa's lovely partners. I want to say thank you to everyone that Morning Mimosas partners with on a daily basis, and thank you for everything that you guys are doing to help improve our community. Guys, so this is my favorite part, right? Welcoming the guest of the day, even though these guests are forever sketched in my heart, but this is just for the guest of the day. Now let's go ahead and welcome the lovely Miss Rachael to Morning Mimosas. And if I said your name wrong, please forgive me, Ms. Dubois. Let's welcome her to Morning Mimosas the only way that we know how to welcome people, right? Like this.
Hi.
Welcome to Morning Mimosas, love. Guys, like I said, I'm really, really excited to have this young lady here on Morning Mimosas. Just give a little bit of background how we met.
Oh
We were
my.
both
We were both
at the summit.
Black Maternal Mental Health Summit in Houston.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's where I connected with her, and now I have her on my show. I love making connections like this, guys, because it gives me, of course, wonderful guests to come on the show, but it also gives you guys another chance to see a real human talk about real human things that I care about, things that they care about, and things that can help you guys, change your life. And this is what she does. So I'm gonna have her tell her all about what she has going on in the wonderful state of Ohio. Take the floor. I'm just excited.
I appreciate you, Holly. So it is Rachael and it's DuBose.
Oh,
You made it
DuBose.
real fancy. That's okay. I'm used to it. I'm used to it. It's all right. So such an honor. So grateful to be here with you, Miss Holly. Yes, we met at the Black Maternal Mental Health Summit. Shout out to the Shades of Blue Project. They're accepting proposals for next year. If you are an advocate for Black maternal mental health, please submit your proposal. Shades of Blue Project, shameless plug. But I was presenting there, and did we go to the same breakout session? I think we were in the same breakout session. And then just kind of kept seeing each other, and then eventually started to kind of connect about the things that we're passionate about. And you told me about your podcast. I'm like, oh, here's my number. Like, let me know when I can come on. You said, soon. I said, okay, here we are. It wasn't one of those, yeah, girl, I'm gonna see you later, girl. Yeah. And then never to be seen again. We were like, no, let's figure this out. So I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm in the southwestern area of Ohio, close to Kentucky. So it's it's Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio. Like the tri-state area is very interesting. But I've been here all my life. I went to undergrad in Columbus, went to the Ohio State University, and then got my master's from the University of Dayton, and been working in mental health since 2010, and have been kind of just working with different populations and different jobs since then. So my passion comes from, wanting to, initially I'm a nosy child. I was a nosy child. I was very much like asked a lot of questions, want to know why people did stuff. Why would you do that kind of thing? And so I think psychology always kind of fascinated me in that way. And so when I started my master's program, it was very much about like understanding what the power of therapy is and what it can do, how it can help people. So I love it and been doing it since then. And so been in private practice since 2022, full time. I was doing some part time, just kind of seeing clients in the evenings. I've worked a little bit everywhere, foster care, with kids, with adults, with the elderly, inpatient, outpatient, transitional homes, all types of stuff. And I was doing forensic evaluations, so working with folks who were court involved, and so doing evaluations like at the jail and other jail-based programs in Cincinnati. And COVID happened, and the need was really great for people to who really wanted help. Like I was kept getting hit up, like, you're not taking new clients. Do you see people for therapy? I'm like, I don't. I'm assessment only. I love it. But the need became so great, and I was like, well, I can just kind of make a shake and just do it in the evenings after work and have a few clients, and it blew up from there. And so the need got really great, and so I transitioned to full-time private practice March of 2022. Here we are. So my focus is trauma. I'm a trauma therapist, and my population that I primarily focus on is women, and even more specifically with Black women or Black women identifying folks. So I typically say, like, in general, historically excluded communities. So like wherever you fit in that, that's my specialty, in the vein of trauma healing. And so, yeah, I've been doing that. It just feels like it's been so long. I feel like I've been in mental health forever. And it's constantly changing and evolving, which I love. But there also is a lot of, we got a long way to go. So yeah. So my story, like non-professional is pretty interesting. So I was raised by my grandparents, and both my parents struggle with addiction, and just kind of being the child of addict parents, kind of the foundation was really interesting as far as like how I viewed myself and what I could do and my confidence. And grandparents were amazing, and they made a choice to step in when my parents could not. But it really kind of did a number on me, honestly. And I've talked to other children of addict parents and having similar experiences, as far as how you view yourself when your parent is struggling. So yeah, I think for me that shaped kind of who I am, especially as a clinician. It also shaped who I am as far as how I approach certain things. And I have my own therapist, so it's taken a while for me to even just do the things that I say to my clients to encourage them to do. It took some time for me to do that for myself too. So it's been a journey, man. It's been a journey.
Wow.
That felt like a really long intro, but I was like, okay,
No,
what I tap into? But we'll keep talking.
it wasn't a long intro at all. It is everything that we needed to know about you so we can get to know you during the course of this. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I'm sorry that that you had to deal with that as far as your parents, but I'm glad you were raised by people that loved you, and I'm glad that you did not allow what was going on with your folks to trickle down to you and let it affect you. Because I know how that is.
Yeah, and I think it definitely still did and does impact me. My mother was, both my parents have, since been in recovery and have done things very differently. And my mom unfortunately passed away in 2020, so that's kind of part of my story too, as far as like my grief story. And then my grandmother who raised me passed away also in 2020. So it was just grief really was hit me with a 1-2 punch. And then I was trying to like find out my identity about like, okay, I'm not a caregiver anymore. So like, now what do I do? I've been a therapist this long, but like, what's next for me in my professional life? And so here we are. It kind of blew up from there. It did. So I think, I think it's easy. I mean, for folks on the outside looking in, it could be like, oh, well, like, like you didn't go down that road, so you cool. I'm like, I mean, that doesn't mean I didn't have the opportunity to. Like, the door kind of always kind of cracked a little bit, but like you make a conscious decision to do it differently, and kind of hope for the best. I mean, life is gonna life, so it just depends on how you learn to manage and deal with that. And so some people choose some things, and some people choose other things. So I'm definitely grateful for the relationship that I had with my parents. Working on my relationship with my dad and my mom, we were able to get super, super close before she passed. Like we were really, really close, like got really like super tight. Like that was my girl. And so just being able to also in my own therapy journey, be able to allow that to happen and not be stuck in the resentment and the abandonment and rejection of it all. Right. So, that was a lot of that was on me to make space for it. Yeah.
Wow. You truly exhibit a light. And that brings me to the next thing, your company called Be the Light.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Be the Light.
And I'm going to go ahead and show something that I think is beautiful. It says, find your light, be the light, turn your light up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I just think that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, where did you? I mean, I understand the concept of it, but where did you get that? Where did you get that from? What inspired you to be the light?
Yeah, I think for me, like it kept showing up for me, right? Like it kept like anytime I would talk to somebody, they'll be like, "Dang, you're such a light." And then I had a friend who unfortunately passed away, lost her battle with cancer, in 2014. Is it coming on 10 years? Oh my gosh. R.I.P. Tiara. And she at her eulogy, the pastor talked about her being a light, and he asked us in the congregation, what are you going to do with the light that she gave you? Essentially, like now that she is no longer physically here, what are you going to do with the light that she gave you? Because she herself was a light. And that just always stuck with me. And then, as I was starting to think about what I wanted to do next, as far as professionally, and what if I didn't have entrepreneurs, a whole lot of them in my family. Like I got a cousin that do hair, like I got folks who really, like have done really amazing things professionally, but not a lot of like immediate entrepreneurial examples. So I didn't really even know that was like, I graduated May 2012 and my husband the day after I graduated, was like, when you gonna do your own thing? I'm like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be a boss. Like, I don't want to do all that. Like, I just want to go to work. I'm raised by old people, old Southern people, old Southern Christian people. You go to work, you work 30 years, you retire, you get your pension, you live your life, and go on to glory. Like, that's it, right? And so I didn't really see any sort of more. Like my dad is a creative. Like, he's but he always had a real job too. Like, my dad is an actor, but he also always, it was very much like, okay, this is like your side hustle. Like, your passion always kind of on the side, right? And so even my mom, like she was able to start her own organization out of recovery and be able to kind of minister to other women who were in addiction, which was amazing. And so I didn't see that till like way later. But growing up, it wasn't really there. And so even thinking about like starting my own organization, like what do I want it to do and say? And so I just kept getting that nudge, right? The universe just kept nudging me a little bit. Like the whole team, God, everybody, like just nudging. And so one time I was at the jail and I was doing I went to go see my homegirl. She worked in another department in the jail. And I was like, I'm gonna go see her real quick. First, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to the office. I was like, no, let me go see my homegirl. So I go see my homegirl. We chopped up. I'm on my way back, and another lady was there. It was like one of the chaplains, I think, for the jail. And when I saw her at the elevator, she was like, okay, I saw you before, and you just got a light around you, right? And so it just kept, like, stuff like that just kept popping up. Then 2019, right before the pandemic, I went to a conference by the Multi-Ethnic Advocates for Cultural Competencies in Columbus, Ohio. And the keynote speaker was Dr. Yusuf Salaam, one of the Exonerated Five. He talked a lot about his experience, being wrongfully convicted, and his experience post-release. And like, my question, because he allowed us to ask questions, my first question was, okay, hey, I'm a grudge holder, so how you do that? Like, I don't know how else to ask that. Like, how do you maneuver and navigate life with that kind of, like, all of that? And so two things that he said to me that I still use today, and that was 2019, was that he told me this quote from Dr. Maya Angelou that talks about bitterness versus anger. And so the quote talks about that anger, like bitterness and anger are two different things, essentially. And so bitterness is what eats upon the host. Bitterness is, she said, it does nothing to the object of its displeasure. It's like a cancer, right? Bitterness. The anger is what you use to, like, you're productive in it. You walk it, you talk it, you vote it, you sing it, you dance it, you never stop talking it. And so he talked about, like, this is me talking it, me coming to conferences and talking about my experience and showing that, that newspaper article that, who took out about the Exonerated Five and shared all their information. They were minors, all that stuff. And so he talked about all of that. And he talked about turning your light up in his talk. So, like, I got two things from that. I got turning your light up. Okay, so not only are we finding it, we're also going to turn it up, right? Like, who you are and what you bring. Turn it up. Don't turn it down. Turn it up. Like, and I was just like, you know what? You on something, Dr. Yusuf. Then I got to meet him and take a picture, and I was like, I had my fist up, and he was like, "Are we doing that? Okay, cool." So now I have a picture of me and Dr. Yusuf Salaam with our. I love it. Anyway, so those things just kept, like, you just get something and it just keep tapping on your shoulder. It was that. It just kept tapping me. And right before my mom passed, I had me and three of my nieces. We did like an Airbnb, and she was helping. And, like, she was in Louisville, Kentucky. She had moved there for her cancer treatment. And she was just like, I started, like, kind of playing around with, like, a business card. Like, I was like, I don't know what I wanted to say. It looked like, so she helped me. She's like, daughter, that look good. Like, it's gonna be da-da-da. She was like my, like, number one cheerleader for real. And then the next year she passed, and then my grandma passed, and I'm like, okay. My grandma passed 3 days after I submitted for my LLC. Like, once I was like, okay, I'm about to do this. And then my grandma passed. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I always felt like it was just, like, just kept getting tugged backwards. But once they both passed, especially in the midst of COVID, it was like, okay, I have space now. I had a lot of other hats I was wearing with them. And so I had the space to be able to push through that. It was still very hard. Grief still, it can I cuss on here?
Yes, you may.
Okay, grief be beating my ass a lot. It be beating my ass a lot. And I talk a lot about grief and loss, in addition to trauma and trauma-informed care and self-compassion and how we talk about those things. But for me, like, Be the Light just really embodied, like, what I aspire to be, which is a light for other people. And also it kind of pays homage to the folks in my life that have been that.
That is absolutely beautiful. I'm trying not to cry because
Lordy,
listening to your story.
I'm one of those criers that if you cry, I'm gonna cry. So I'm here for emotion, but let's do our best. We just started.
Oh, I'm just so proud of the woman that I'm sitting here listening to. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't hear enough of, oh, I'm proud of you. Like, good job for getting out of that situation. Look at what you're doing now. I'm sitting here like a proud little sister, like just so proud of everything that you've accomplished. Because with all the trauma that you've been through, and now you're trying to seek it for others. You're trying to make sure that others don't go through that. It's such a beautiful thing when people use their pain and turn it into a purpose. And that's what I like to say, turning a pain into a purpose.
For sure.
Because that's what I did with my trauma. I don't know if I told you a little bit about my story while we were in Houston, but my daughter was murdered in 2008.
Oh, goodness.
And she's never gotten justice. They deemed it an accidental drowning. And so I spent years being like suicidal. I was doing drugs. You know, I actually tried to do a home hysterectomy in 2017. And I'm saying this to say this, you know, had I had somebody like you in my life probably back then, that probably would have helped me navigate that a little bit better. So I just thank you for everything that you're doing, for real, because it's not easy. First and foremost, it's not easy to go through trauma. And then it's not easy to try to actively get the help for that, which leads me to the question that I asked you before the show started. Why is it that our Black community, even though I'm speaking for minority communities, because obviously, like, you know, Mexicans, Africans, Japanese people, obviously, all of them go through this too. But why is it that we are so, well, not us, because we're breaking that generational curse with what we're doing. But why is it that our parents and our parents before this, they were so institutionalized by the ways of slavery that they thought that mental health was a white person's thing and not something that we needed? For example, back when I was a kid, like, you know, if I was depressed, oh, depress those dishes.
Yeah. What you got to be depressed about? It was, yeah. I mean, first of all, thank you for sharing a bit of your story about your daughter, especially because I cannot imagine how you navigate that type of pain. Like when folks ask me about grief and I talk about grief and loss, I tell people all the time, like the hardest part for me grieving was integrating grief into my day-to-day because life kept going. And that was really hard. I'm like, people will be asking me like, Rachael, how you feel? Oh, girl, it's shitty. My mama died. Like, I was just like, why you asking me? This is a dumb question. Why you asking me that? I'm shitty, terrible, awful. I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be at work. I want to be at home, but bills are due. All right. Like, so I think, and then when my grandma died, I was like, my mama's plural dad. Like, what y'all want from me? You know what I mean? Like, so I think I had to, and so to even just so honor and grateful that you have been able to create a space for yourself and for other people, because I saw all the sponsors, okay? For other people to be able to share. I think part of that is part of being able to share your story and have that resonate with folks is definitely helpful in the healing part of it. But to answer your question, I just had to get that out. To answer your question, I think the challenge, and because I don't want to call it a problem, right? I'm a therapist, we always reframe. So I think as I reframe it, the challenge for Black American, and I probably say Black people across the diaspora, honestly, with mental health, there's a few issues. I think the first challenge that I see a lot of is that very African American tendency to say what happens in his house stays in his house. And so the idea of talking to a stranger about your problems, no. That's not their business. They won't understand. And so I think that's a big piece of it. Just that kind of like that club, because I think even historically, right? Like parents, grandparents, great grandparents, you couldn't tell your business because that can be used against you and everybody going to jail. Like literally, like legitimately going to jail or killed or harassed. Like it could really get real, right? And so I think, what I know about trauma and what I know about, kind of epigenetics is that trauma can be passed through DNA. So, just thinking about what that looks like. And so I think that's a big one, just being very protective of our stuff. I think sometimes when it comes to parents and their children, I think sometimes it can be like an ego dip because it can seem like, oh, if my child has issues, it's my fault. Sometimes it is your fault. Sometimes you added to it. However, I think it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to get the help and that you don't either. And so that's something I hear a lot too. Like, it's hard to be the only person getting the help. It's really difficult. So that can be really off-putting for folks. And then there's not enough Black clinicians in the field, honestly. And so
That's
just
true.
finding some, for those who are interested and who really want someone that looks like them, that can also understand what they're going through in certain things and not have to over-explain things and that sort of thing. I think that can be a challenge too. And then, of course, always, capitalism, it costs. It's not free.
Okay.
It's not free. So I think, and then there's like this sort of line between us as clinicians to be able to charge what we're worth, because we also got bills. But we also want to provide the service to folks who really need it, who may not be able to afford out of pocket. And then we have, Medicaid and all the things that come with billing insurance and all that kind of stuff. So it can be really complicated for us as clinicians as well. But I think overall, historically, I mean, there was a time when like the people who were enslaved who attempted to leave slavery or run away, it was like in those early diagnostic manuals, that was considered a mental illness. They had a whole mental illness for people who wanted to run away from slavery. Wow. Yeah. So again, when you just continue to like pump that into like, no, you don't want to leave what you're not, like, it just gets pumped in historically and through generations. And so I think shame, guilt, you don't want folks in your business. There's just a lot of financial constraints. Like there's a lot of moving parts to why specifically Black folks are hesitant. We live in America, so there's been a lot of, medical mistrust, and I don't know what you're going to say or do. And if I say something, then the CPS at my house, and, it's just, we have a lot of reasons not to trust the system, to be honest. And so I think for us as Black clinicians, it's kind of on us to begin to challenge those things, and also maintain the integrity of the field while we're doing it. So so to answer your question, it's a lot of pieces to it. It's multifaceted, multi-layered, not just one thing, not just Black folk don't feel like they need it. Because I think there is a shift happening. There has been probably the past 5 years that I have personally noticed, where it's gone from, folks saying like, oh, you go to therapy, to like, oh, you're not in therapy. Like, I've seen that shift. I've seen the shift. And every time I hear it, I'm like, yes, like people aren't as ashamed to say, oh, I'm going to see my therapist. You ain't talking to nobody about your trauma. Like, you just want to just bleed on everybody with all your stuff. Like, you don't want to, like, go talk to the lady. You know what I'm saying? Go talk to the lady. Yeah, go talk to the lady. So I think there's a shift happening, but we definitely still have a long way to go.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree with you. We definitely still have a long way to go when it comes to a multitude of things, but there is definitely that shift. I'm really, really proud that, especially now in 2024, that people are reaching out and people are getting the help that they need. So let's just continue this fight and make sure that we're doing our part to make sure that people are getting the resources that they need. So once again, I say thank you for being that clinician that Ohio needs, seriously, because it's like I said, there's not too many therapists, there's not too many Black doctors, there's not too many people of our color in these professions where we need them to be.
Right.
And that's another thing that's really, 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 really disturbing too. Because for years I've tried to find like a Black doctor. Not in Colorado.
Well,
yeah, a lot of things have changed. But so for the people who are in Cincinnati who want to utilize your services, how do they reach out to you? How do they get in touch with you? Because I know I have several fans in Ohio. So
okay, come on, fans.
Want to hear?
Hey, y'all. So right now I'm not taking new clients for individual work.
Oh,
but I am always open to workshops, presentations, training, speaking. I'll come talk to your church, your family reunion. You want somebody to come talk to about the stigma of mental health? I got you. So the website is be-thelight.info. That's be-thelight.info. All my information's there. I also have merch, and you can see other speaking engagements that I've done. Kind of a list of all the things that I've been into, because it's been very, very busy, which I'm so grateful for. And I think, if you have questions, if you just want to know, like, okay, can I change therapists? If I find somebody and they're like, I don't vibe with them, like, can I switch? Yes, please do. Please switch. So if you just have general questions about mental health, but again, I'll come talk to whoever nationwide. If y'all paying, I'm coming. Let me know.
She said nationwide.
Let me know. Globally,
On
really.
her side. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to really jump into the speaking bag. Okay. So I've been so fortunate to be able to like travel and speak this year, and talk about mental health and talk about trauma-informed care and talk about self-compassion, and so that's been really, 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 really dope. So yeah, holla at me, be-thelight.info. All my information's there. Email, all that jazz if you have questions. If you need referrals, if you're in my area, really throughout the state, honestly, but if you're in Southwestern Ohio, Cincinnati, Dayton, Northern Kentucky, like I know some really, really amazing therapists in our area. So if you just need to be like, hey, who can I go to? Who takes this insurance? Like, I got you. I'm definitely the referral person. Like, oh yeah, no, I know somebody that do that. It's a lot of amazing clinicians here. So we're here to help for sure.
That is absolutely perfect. And for those of you guys who are in the area and want to do a workshop with her or any other speaking engagement, I will put all of her information in the comment section. But guys, I just want to say thank you again, Ms. Rachael, for coming on here. You have been amazing. You have been the light today.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Holly. Thank you for this. Like, thank you for even having the space, because people need this, and people need to, especially when we're talking about healing and talking about criminal justice and talking about what it looks like for us to navigate the world day by day as Black people. Like, we need all the help we can get. All hands on deck at this point. So yeah. For sure.
Absolutely love it. Well, guys, this is Morning Mimosas. As you guys know, we value justice, healing, and education for the Black and minority communities, although we love all people. We will see you guys next Saturday. Until that time, ta-ta.